and welcome to the 250, the podcast where marriage is what brings us together today. I'm Douglas, and with me as always is my co-host Jet. How are you, Jet?
Oh, I'm good, thanks. I'm back again this week, as I have always been.
Mm-hmm. You've always been here.
Absolutely. This is where I am.
If this is your first time tuning into the 250, we have taken a snapshot of IMDb's top 250 movies of all time as of January 2020, and have begun watching them from number 250 through to number 1. In this podcast, we discuss our opinions, our thoughts, and our reactions to the movies within. Today's movie, number 237, The Princess Bride. And Jonathan's here as well.
Hey guys. An enchantingly satirical fairy tale where the beautiful Princess Buttercup and the handsome Wesley must overcome many astounding obstacles, including six-fingered swordsmen, Sicilians, rodents of unusual size, and more, in order to solidify their love for one another. The Princess
Actually,
Bride...
looking back at that, there's a lot of S's, isn't there? There's a lot of
S's. The Princess Bride is directed by Rob Reiner and written by William Goldman. Do you think that intro joke was funny? Because I don't think it was. I'm
Absolutely not. It definitely landed. Anyone listening to the 250 for the first time, my co-host here is actually Jonathan, and we have our very first guest here on the 250, Jet. How are you, buddy? I know I asked you in the intro, but I'm going to ask you again.
I'm no longer good because apparently I've been fired from my position of co-host from this show.
Co-host, yeah. Actually, this is all a bit.
You've just been demoted, okay? Steady on.
Yeah, that is so meta. Oh my god, can I do... Oh, I wish we were doing that as like, wow, that's a long-term bit. So, why are you here with us today, Jet? Why are you here? Why?
Well,
What are you doing here?
I was looking at the list, and I wanted to be on the podcast. And I saw this movie and I recognized it, and I watched it a couple years ago-ish. And I wanted to rewatch it again because I knew I really enjoyed it. And so I thought this was a good opportunity to rewatch it and talk about it.
Well, hey, look at that. That's basically what we're doing. I mean, like, a lot of these movies on the fucking 250 are just either movies that John and I have really wanted to see, and we've never really had the urgency to watch them, and this is kind of giving us the urgency to watch them, or movies that we've already seen and we want to rewatch.
Some film we've seen like 3 times already, and we're just like... Oh,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we just want an excuse to rewatch it and fucking jizz about it. So, this is it. This is what we're doing.
I haven't watched this in
I'm really happy to have you on board, Jet. Very happy.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. No longer the co-host, but happy to be here anyway.
That was the most genuine fucking delivery after a 5-second pause I've ever heard.
Just got to think about it for a second. I hadn't watched it for about 10 years. How about you, Douglas?
Wow. This is my first run through with Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Never seen it before.
Oh, you've never seen it before?
So, nope.
Oh, shit. Okay, it must have been an
I did not get... I assume there is a lot of nostalgia with this film because people watched it as a kid. Stuff, right?
It's very...
Or maybe as a teenager.
I feel like it's a film that is popular because it's got a lot of one-liners in it and a lot of quotable bits. And I think it's kind of, when it comes down to it, it's just a very, like, nice, fun children's film. And I think sometimes that's all the film needs to be, I guess. And, obviously the comedy is a good layer on top of that. I don't know how I feel about this. Little interesting because it's kind of... I was kind of unimpressed by it, but I didn't have a bad time, you know? It was just kind of... I don't know. How do you feel about it?
I really want to delve into why you were underwhelmed by it in the spoilers section, but yeah, I loved it. I thought from beginning to end, I was completely wrapped up in it. It was far better than what I was expecting. I think I said this before in Before Sunset last week, where I kind of had written off romance movies as like, oh, it's a romance movie, whatever. And that seems so stupid. Looking back at it now, I'm like, you fuckhead. What? Stop writing off movies just because of the genre. Like, this is so good. It's like, it's not just a romance movie. There's so many other genre elements within this movie, and it's a satire on pretty much all of those genres anyway. Yeah, I thought it was just genuinely really, really clever.
Well, I think what you were just saying is interesting, because I think I remember back when I first when I first watched it, I was down to watch it. Someone recommended it to me, and I watched it with them. But I remember thinking at the time, I didn't know much about The Princess Bride. Everyone always told me to watch it, but I always thought it sounded really boring. I think that is pretty much everyone's reaction when they at least hear the title, like The Princess Bride. They see the posters, and it's like the people kissing or whatever.
It just looks
like,
so naff.
It looks
really
very generic.
boring.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's not generic. And yeah, I mean, again, there's more we can talk about in the spoilers section,
when we get
I think.
to spoilers, absolutely.
I think its first appearance does not match how it actually is.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of those things where the book doesn't necessarily match the cover doesn't necessarily match the contents. There is obviously, there is the romancy, lovey-dovey stuff in there, but I don't think that's the focal point of the film. I think there are so many other side characters and little plot lines that are going through amongst all these other ensemble cast members that make Princess Bride as would you call this like a cult classic, do you think?
Yeah, I reckon.
You reckon it's got a big enough following for it to be considered that?
I mean,
I have heard of this movie before, and I've heard people go, oh, it's very good, but I don't know whether it's classified as that.
It's generally the cult classic kind of implies that like it didn't do well originally, and then people
as it grew
kind of
older,
warmed to it as it grew older.
Yeah.
Like Blade Runner is technically a cult classic because I think it did really poorly originally. For example, but yeah, I'd get that. It's not. I feel like it's not a film that people think about when they think of like a great film, but it is a film a lot of people think fondly of. I think it very much fucking rides on its quotability, like hugely.
Yes, the writing is strong.
Which I think is just it's just like a sign of good comedy writing, basically.
Yeah.
I to go into that quickly. Well, I was watching the movie with my partner, and I found myself multiple times in the film. I kept saying on different quotes, I'm like, oh, there's a reference to that in this. Oh, there's a reference to that line in Overwatch. There's a reference to that line in this, and I'm just like, wow.
I've got the trivia section for this movie is fucking massive. So strap in for the end of this podcast where I list off about 30 minutes worth of trivia. But this movie has had, in terms of its comedy chops, I think it's had a bit of an influence in a couple of different media forms, especially as you said, Jet. There's a couple in the video game world where it's had its influence kind of tucked in there, which I think is really cool. And just given the writing and everything, how it's set, how it's portrayed, it makes sense that it's got the stickability to move on into other media forms and still have that same kind of reverence, I think. Well, Jonathan, would you recommend this movie?
I would. It's not gonna like make you think as much as some of our previous films have, certainly.
Not a thinky film, no.
It's one of the most lighthearted, just like comfortable films that we've. Potentially just the most lighthearted, comfortable film we've watched on the whole list so far. Because it's just kind of executed very well. It's got a lot of charm. It's just fucking oozing charm and like comedy and stuff. There's not really any philosophical anything to think about. I guess it's kind of being satirical of other kind of adventure films in that genre, but no, it was a very good time, and it would make an excellent kids film, which I gather is the original kind of aim for it.
Premise, I suppose. I completely agree. Definitely 110% would recommend. I think the cast of this film is exquisite. There are lots of faces here that you don't know, but voices that you know. There's Billy Crystal, who later goes on to play Mike Wazowski in Monsters, Inc. There's Wallace Shawn, who plays Rex in Toy Story, who voices Rex in Toy Story, I should say. There's Christopher Guest, who voices Jack Skellington in The Nightmare Before Christmas. It's a pretty all-star cast, but you don't know it's an all-star cast, which I think is really kind of clever for a late 80s film. It was kind of all of these actors that are still kind of milling their way around before they find that the thing that makes them, what they're known for, I suppose. And it's really cool to see them do some live action stuff, like seeing all of these voice actors actually get to, flex their acting chops a little bit more. So, across the board, fucking awesome movie. Loved it.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's something that, again, like, you don't expect it to be what it is, and that's part of the reason I recommend it, because I think it beats your expectations, and it's good. It's a good film.
Yeah, it kind of rides that Princess Bride title and then goes, nah, we're not doing that. Nah. Okay, hit him with the spoiler horn.
Okay.
Jet's here for the first time, but we just sat there in silence for about 3 seconds, and then now we're talking again.
I heard it.
I heard it.
Now you know what it's really like. You've heard the final product. What's the pregnant pause?
Is the illusion broken?
Look, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I heard the horn.
Jet's like our auditor. He's like the auditor of the podcast. Like he's. Yes. I see what you're doing here. Yes, I understand.
Yeah, you get a D.
Poor choice. Could use some refinement.
This podcast is unsafe for human consumption. Now that you know how it's produced.
Boy. Yeah, exactly. Now that the illusion's broken. What do you got, Jonathan?
Gosh, it's like not even that important of a thing to think about, but the first thing I always think of when like thinking about this film is all the sets and stuff are so fucking goofy. There's the fencing duel. What's it called again? The greatest sword fight in modern times.
The greatest swords fight in modern times, yeah.
It's just like the whole thing. You're like, that whole set is just made out of fiberglass.
Yeah.
It's fucking incredible. And what else is there? There's the door for that into the pit of despair, which is like just this. There's something kind of charmingly.
I was just gonna say that it feels so whimsical and charming, and I think that's something that happens with a lot of these older films, is that they can age really well, and they really, if they go like all in on their kind of not full budget kind of effects and everything, then it can end up being far more charming than if they tried to oh, we're really going to go hard. Like, we're going to fucking smash the budget into the set, and we're going to get all this really cool stuff and special effects. And, that makes it not as charming, because you can see that they're trying really hard, but they never make the final hurdle.
They're tryharding. They're tryharding in film form.
Yeah, exactly. It's the equivalent of tryhard, but in film. Wow, Jet, you're bringing new light to the podcast already. It's not even 15 minutes in, and we're already fucking treading new ground.
I wonder if it was intentional.
I would like to think so, but yeah.
I
mean, it certainly helps, I think, that the film comes from a satirical-ish sort of standpoint, where it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Absolutely.
It means you can, I wouldn't say suspend your disbelief, but it makes the slightly faker looking sets, if they fit in, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of just allow that. All the puppets and costumes and stuff. The fucking rodents of what's it called?
Rodents, man. The rodents of unusual size.
Unusual size. Just that shot where they're in the swamp, and she's like, what about the ROUSs, the rodents of unusual size? And then it's like, they don't exist. That whole bit.
Fucking just rodent just tackles him to the ground.
And then the whole thing, it's clearly a dude in just a costume.
It's just
crawling
a midget
on all fours.
in a suit. Yeah.
It actually made it scarier once I because I knew that, but when I actually saw I saw the person, that was scarier than the rat. It was weird.
Well, because you were just imagining a person within the confines of the suit.
Exactly.
Oh my god! But then I wonder how they did the mouth and stuff. Would he?
His mouth doesn't really move that much, is how they did it.
No, I feel like it opens its jaw at one point.
They could have had like one,
maybe had like a separate puppet for it.
Well,
or just did a different shot where the dude like sticks his hand in there and goes. Mah, mah, mah.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been the hand thing, because I think in what's that old Jim Henson movie, the Dark Crystal, the big bird dudes. They're very clearly they've only ever moved one arm at once, and with someone on the ground on fours, like as long as one of the feet sort of looks like it's touching the ground, you can probably have one arm in the mouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That
Because
might not be it.
the
I
other
didn't
leg
look
can
that
just
closely.
kind of flop.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to look like it has that much tension or movement behind it. Yeah, because the rest of the puppet is kind of guising it. Yeah, it's interesting.
You'd probably need to rewatch it and look closely. I didn't. I probably should have, but whatever.
I don't think I have the fucking time nor the stamina to analyze the ROUS scene from The Princess Bride 1987. Jesus Christ.
That sounds like a really good use of your time. I don't know, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's like the eels and stuff are their own like little bit, and there's what else?
The shrieking eels. Apparently that wasn't in the book.
Okay.
Really?
The book by William Goldman. It was originally supposed to be sharks, but who is it? Vicini had apparently filled up a cup with his blood that he then poured off the boat into the water to attract the sharks. And something about that doesn't seem very child-friendly to me.
Also, potentially a little
just
unsafe.
Get this goblet of blood, yeah.
Bloody hell. Yeah, the shrieking eels, I think
alright.
I think it's also just kind of fun because they're like a bit fantastical and
Yeah.
something a bit out there.
It reinforces the kind of fairy tale shtick of the film, yeah.
The fucking the torture machine
Yeah.
was like just in the way it like moves and stuff just seemed so goofy as well.
But like still kind of brilliant. Like the fact that they took the time to think of that shit, and then like whoever the set designer was to be like, okay, we've got to make this machine, and then like the guy being like, okay, so we're gonna put this cog here, that does nothing, but then there's a switch here that like it's fucking brilliant.
There's this dial that goes up to 50 years
Up to
life.
50. Yeah.
Fucking bizarre. But it's all very good.
So
It, it kind of rides this satire. Which,
It rides its goofiness. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Which
is good.
It's kind of aim, I guess. It stops
It
you
feels
from taking
very,
it too seriously.
It feels kind of almost to me anyway. It felt kind of Terry Pratchett at times.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
kind of
Terry Pratchett is obviously meant for an adult audience, but just occasionally it just felt kind of like it had that, blend of fairy tale and satire and everything, and obviously like the wordplay and everything like that. The wittiness of the script kind of leans into that idea. Jet, I've been meaning to ask you about this. What do you think about Australia canonically existing within this world?
I forgot about that. And then they mentioned it again. Every time Australia is mentioned in any form of media, I get whiplash.
It's so weird.
It's always so weird.
It's like, what the fuck? Okay, so for any of our international listeners, inside fucking scoop, whenever Australia gets mentioned in goddamn anything, yeah, we literally are just like, what do you mean? Like,
we're not usually part of
we're
these things.
here, but like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Especially in like older, films set in the past, like.
Yeah,
because we were even like less relevant back then.
Exactly. In the late 80s, like, my God.
It's a country full of criminals.
Yeah, I mean, like when the film is supposed to be set, I mean, it's set medieval times, but because it mentions Australia, that means it has to be set after like the 1700s.
Yeah,
because that's when like Australia is like colonized. So
counterpoint, Douglas. It's not real. And they made it up.
Hey. Wait, they made Australia up? Or?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. Once people stop
actors.
believing in Australia, we will fade out of existence.
All Australians are paid actors.
We need to keep perpetuating that lie.
Oh shit! Cut this from the podcast.
Oh god, I saw that in the internet once where someone was just like, yeah, like every Australian on the internet is a paid actor. Have you ever really seen a real Australian or a photo from Australia? It's all fake.
It's all done on sets. Nothing's real.
Yeah.
I think the obvious thing from this film is all the one-liners. Which
Absolutely, you got your Inigo Montoya.
But I guess which is like fun, but it's kind of not super interesting to talk about from like a film critique standpoint, basically.
I suppose so, yeah. I think, well, that's what I came into this movie knowing was, my name is Inigo Montoya, you kill my father, prepare to die. That was what I came into this movie knowing. And when he first says that shit, when he meets the fucking six-finger boy, Count, whatever his name is, Count Rugen.
It's one of the really good scenes in the film.
I got fucking chills, man. I was like, let's go. And then his reaction to it, where like a normal villain would be like, yes, all right, let's fight to the death. But instead he just fucking pisses off. Like he just bolts.
Oh my god. That's so fucking good. He just... Which is what I think
stares at him for a few seconds, then he's like, fuck.
That's the more interesting part of it is the visual comedy, because there's not much longer form comedy, I don't think, really. There's I
don't know, there's some good, like, the wordplay in the greatest swords fight in modern times is, very witty, and, it feels like the sort of thing that my mum would enjoy, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, it's got that, almost, first Pirates of the Caribbean, where Will Turner and Jack Sparrow are having their swords fight in the blacksmith.
Yeah, okay.
It has that kind of vibe, you know what I mean?
Oh, that fucking scene with the where they jump on the
banisters, like in the
gymnast bar type thing.
Yeah, and they're like up on the, what is it, the beams, the beams in the roof. Yeah.
Oh no, I meant this film where he does the flip.
Oh right.
Yeah. And then Wesley does like a full couple of rotations and then like front flip
around that one fucking vine. Yeah.
Fucking stupid.
I got a good little tidbit of trivia about that, so we'll touch back on that when we get to the trivia section. But yeah, I love that sword fight sequence. I thought that was like really fantastic, and I wrote down that the floppiness of the swords was kind of like,
sure
I thought that was charming, but then I was like, wait, isn't that how the swords are meant to be? Are they meant to be like kind of floppy?
That's like a normal fencing sword thing, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, like rapier or like fencing, swords are meant to be kind of like wobbly.
You dumb bitch.
I know I'm a dumb butt. Well, I wrote it down and then I realized it later on, okay? God, fuck, at least I didn't genuinely be like, how dumb were the swords? Like,
you didn't resist.
I would have preferred that because I could rip shreds out of you. That would be fucking excellent.
True, you could... Well, yeah. Well, yeah, because I admitted to it. Yeah, you're right. I've really tossed myself under the bus here. You're right.
You did this to yourself.
Yeah.
And the whole bit with actually no, I take it back. There's quite a bit of like extended comedy bits.
Sorry, yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think there are. I wouldn't say like every scene is hits it out of the park, but there are some scenes, when I was rewatching the movie, there were some scenes where I go, oh yes, this is a very good scene and I'm excited to watch it. Like,
absolutely,
the greatest sword fight, or the Inigo's like revenge at the end, or even I even enjoyed the bit where they were up on the wall right before they were about to go into the castle.
Yeah,
like
the battlements. Yeah,
that was a good scene. Like that whole bit was like good, funny writing for that of that bit. Like there are multiple bits in the film where I'm even like the bit with the two cups. The Battle of Wits, like they're all like all of those scenes. I was very excited to rewatch, and they were just as good as I remembered.
The whole chase sequence of Wesley catching up with the trio was really good, and I liked the kind of sequential order that had. Like, okay, he's beaten Inigo, next is Fezzik, he's beaten Fezzik, next is Vicini. I liked that kind of progression in the beginning of the film because that kept a level of like, ooh, now the next one, yeah,
for sure.
Which I like that, yeah.
It's also just like, it's also a cute little excuse to basically just, show off this character that he's like fast and strong and clever and whatever.
Yeah, reinforcing that Wesley, you don't fuck with Wesley anymore.
which is like it film like this, it seems less necessary to be like subtle about the characterization and stuff. Because it's already
when everything else is so bombastic. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You can just be like, he's strong and fast and smart. And you're like, okay, I believe you.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And I actually made a note. There's like the little exposition bit with Inigo, with the Spaniard, talking with Wesley before their fight, and I didn't find that bad, as like, which I think is just due to the way that the film's kind of structured. It's just like, here's like a little bit of exposition, but it kind of fits in.
I think it's just like, it's cute to like see, like two swordsmen who are like, respectable, and they want to show each other a level of decency, and they acknowledge that they're both, before they've even fought, they acknowledge that they're both equal adversaries. So they have a level of trust to sit down with one another and have that, that little chat. And I think Inigo is just overall a fucking gorgeous character.
He's a fucking excellent character. He's like, just a totally different kind of motivation to Wesley, but you like
a very real motivation, I think. Like there's around everything else that seems so fantastical and kind of almost ethereal, I think Inigo's journey is probably one of the most relatable, like a quest for revenge. And again, I've got a very interesting tidbit about who is it? Mandy Patinkin, who is the actor of Inigo Montoya. I've got a very interesting bit of his inspiration behind Inigo Montoya's journey, and that kind of, it adds another layer to his performance for me.
It's nice to have something with like a little bit of a level of realism where everything else is just like pure stereotypes, basically.
Yeah, and you get the bit where the fucking Wesley is in the pit of despair, and the torture guy goes, "The pit of despair. Don't even think." Don't even think about trying to escape. That shit killed me.
So fucking good.
That was interesting, actually, that you reminded me of that, because I think there are, because the movie, it's got a lot of jokes, but I think some of the jokes really range from, like, Monty Python level, which is what that joke was, some of them are a bit, I wouldn't say subtle, but, like, not as blatantly satirical, I guess. Would be,
yeah.
I think
that's
range.
Obviously a massive piss take of like the torturer with the raspy voice and the that whole vibe. Yeah.
I had not made that Monty Python connection yet, and I don't know how that happened. That seems so fucking obvious.
Like one of the first lines I wrote was like, "This just feels like the Holy Grail."
Oh fuck! I don't know how I fucked that up. Wait, are there any Monty?
No, there are no Monty Python actors.
No Monty Pythons. Oh, okay. Fuck.
I kept thinking there might be, and then there wasn't.
Yeah. Oh,
it
big disappointment.
It seems like I don't know if I like this more than the Monty Python films.
I definitely prefer Holy Grail to.
I think I would prefer Holy Grail for a couple of reasons.
I think
I love this movie, but
hot take. I think every time I've watched Holy Grail, I've always felt that it kind of sags in like maybe 2/3 of the way through, and the pacing seems very off. And this didn't really have that, although it is shorter. I think it's only an hour and 40
Monty
minutes
Python
long.
is an hour and a half.
Oh, yeah. So I feel like if I was just sitting down, I feel like if I was just sitting down, I'd probably actually prefer this. Not because I like the comedy.
Standing up.
You can't. That was
Jet. Last week, John goes, but when you sit down and you really look at the movie, and I was like, oh, but you're watching it standing up. I'm sorry, John.
That is a reference that people understand. You know what?
I'm definitely going to toss you under the bus every single time you do this.
You guys. I think
leaving the podcast.
I think I would prefer to watch this just because that in particular puts me off every time, and it's potentially just like a learned behavior because I have watched Holy Grail a couple times now, but there's something about that weird sag, and then like also the questionable ending, which is kind of a bit in and of itself. But
yeah, come on, like that's. I mean, they made that in that movie, but that is what Monty Python is. You know,
Yeah,
they never knew how to end a sketch.
Yes.
That was their whole bit, and that's kind of our fucking bit. We don't know how to end this goddamn podcast. We just riff for about 5
Thanks
minutes.
for listening to the 250. If you want
Until we eventually get to a point where we're like, okay, I guess we can stop now. Like, that's what, like, comedy is for some people. It's just, like, you find a nice start, you get a nice little middle, and then you're like, how the fuck, what do we do now? Like,
But this film has a nice ending, it has a nice structure, so...
True. It does. It's got a very heartwarming ending. I like the ending of this movie. And the grandpa turns back and he does the "as you wish."
Yeah.
I
Oh,
was
God,
like,
I loved
"Aw,
that. I love that. I was
little
like,
cutie
yeah.
That was a good ending, yeah.
The Holy Grail is 120 something odd in the list, so we will be watching
Oh,
Holy
wait.
Grail.
Didn't you just say there wasn't any Monty Python on the list?
What? No, in this movie, there's no
okay.
Monty Python dudes. Holy Grail is on the list.
okay.
Life of Brian is on the list.
Okay, so I just made this big fucking deal about it, and like, God fucking damn it.
What? Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
Yeah, you should be.
tossing you under the bus again, I suppose.
Once again. How did you feel about the kind of framing of the film as it being like told as a story?
I think that added... I think if you took it away, it wouldn't change the film at all. But I kind of like that it's there. Because it gives a sense of narration for what's going on. And I think that's kind of nice to have this second party kind of reacting to everything, and it's got that almost Monty Python level of when the shit's getting really good, it stops, you know, and we cut out to this other force, and then we cut back in again. It's got that kind of dick tease element kind of thing going on. But yeah.
Do you know the context to why they included that in the movie?
I have an idea, but I'll let you go for it.
Well, in
Hit me with it, Jet.
In the original book, it's the original book is called The Princess Bride by whoever the author says he says at the start of the movie, but then it says like refined or some other word, a proper writing term, by the actual author of the book. And so
William Goldman.
It's what it's meant to be in the actual book is another book that the writer read to his kid all the time but thought it was super boring, so he cut out all the boring bits whenever he read it to his kid, and then he has done that and cut out the boring bits, renamed a couple things, and then done the book. Now, what the reality is, there was never an original book. That's a fictional thing he's made up for the story. But that's why, and then, yeah, in like the original book, like at some point it said, oh, and this bit's boring, so we'll skip over it, and stuff like that. And that's why they've had the narrator in the film is to do a similar role. I don't think he does it as much as the book might have, because the narrator doesn't really cut him that much in the film. But... I mean, yeah, like, there are bits where he does skip over some stuff, or, like, the kid asks to skip over some stuff. Yeah.
That's really fucking clever. I like that, because then that, like... that's kind of like a thing for the audience to be like, what happened in the bit that we skipped? Oh, fuck it, I guess it doesn't matter, because by the time you realise that, you're already on to the next fucking bit anyway, so...
I mean...
That's incredibly cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I think it adds to, like, I was noticing again, because I only learnt that fact after I'd watched the film the first time, so I was rewatching again with that knowledge, and it made me realise that the film is actually quite, like, it's fast. Like, it doesn't like, stop on anything boring. Anything that's happening is important, and, like, even one of the most, I think, blatant bits was when they were on that barricades before they invaded the castle. They said that the magical chocolate or whatever, the thing would take like an hour or so to fix him, but then he just gets up. And like there's a lot of that in the film where they skip all the bullshit.
They've got to keep things choppy. They've got to keep it all moving.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's intentional or if that's just come over from the book by the book saying it's skipping the boring bits and only including the exciting bits.
Have you read the book, Jet?
I have not read the book. I do not know. I've just heard that fact about the book.
Right.
Hey, Douglas.
Yes, Jonathan.
How does it feel that our guest was the first person to make any kind of like actual film critique in this episode?
Yeah,
instead of just talking about the comedy,
rather than riffing off like fuckheads. So back to the physical comedy.
Actually, talking about the physical comedy, you reminded me of because of the wall. The fucking limp body joke.
So good.
20 or 30 minutes.
Oh,
And it's incredible.
God.
Every
Carrie-
fucking time.
Cary Elwes, he commits to that fucking bit. Like, he just loses all bodily function, and it is fantastic.
Where he's
so
just
good.
like, he's he's just talking to him and his head flops forward.
His head flops down.
flops back. And
And Fezzik, like, holding his head up with his gigantic fucking hand. Can we talk
makes
about
him
Andre
nod.
the Giant?
Yes, I do want to talk about Andre the Giant.
I really, really liked him. I thought he was fucking gorgeous in this movie. And I think that he was... Oh, God, there's so much trivia stuff that I want to get into, but I'm trying to save as much of it as I can. But there's a thing with Andre the Giant that, obviously, you know, he's a gigantic fucking dude. And he said that he was refreshed to be a part of this cast and a part of this set because people didn't look at him. You know what I mean? Like, they just treated him like another human being. They didn't, you know, gawk or stare at him or anything like that. He was just another member of the crew. And I think that's fucking wholesome as hell. Like,
That's so nice.
Me researching for the trivia for this fucking movie, the production of this movie was just as magical as the movie itself. Like, there is so many heartwarming things that went on, like, behind scenes. It's, yeah, fucking... Oh, yeah, you guys are gonna like the trivia section.
I think that shows too. Like, I think
Yeah,
a lot
it
of the
shows
actors, they seem like they're just having fun. Especially like the main guy. Like, he just, they all, but all of them, they all just seem like they're just having fun and they're liking being in the movie. They're just like, it's a good energy from the movie.
Yeah. It's a good vibe, would you say, Jet?
It's a good vibe, and that's
It's a
what we
good
really
vibe.
talk about here on the 250 is the vibes.
Yeah, we're all
of the
about
film.
vibes here. John, what do you reckon of the vibe?
It's alright. God damn it. Lost my fucking train of thought.
Thank you for yes-anding me on that, Jet. I appreciate that.
I couldn't fucking understand Andre, like, half of the film.
There were bits where I had
he does
trouble
have a very
understanding.
thick voice. Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of a shame. But he did wrestling before this, didn't he?
He is.
Right.
He's in, like, fucking WrestleMania and all that shit, yeah.
Right, yeah. Which is... I find that so wild. We get fucking John Cena doing films these days. He did that
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Was Arnold a wrestler at one point?
Pretty sure.
Was he?
Pretty sure. I might
thought
be
he was
wrong.
only a
I might be
robot.
spitting
Yeah, I was gonna say-
fallacies.
Two people have said, "Are you sure about that now?"
This is, yeah, 2 against 1. Okay, hang on. Let me
And
just...
Jones is like, "You know what?
Vamp.
Are you looking? God fucking damn it!
Oh, he's a bodybuilder.
He was bodybuilding, yeah. But he was bodybuilding
Okay, so not a
until
wrestler.
he was bodybuilding for like 50 years, dude. He goes hard.
Okay. Maybe that's why I thought he was a wrestler then, was because he's just,
He's buff.
yeah, he's jacked as all hell.
I like.
I go to a bodybuilding competition and I'm like, when are these guys going to smack down? Bring out the ring, let's go.
What are we fucking waiting for?
Oh my god.
This is what bodybuilding is missing out on.
Yeah, exactly. Just a
Highly
you have the
choreographed.
bodybuilding section where they all like flex and everything, and then you get a heavily choreographed section.
Then just
where they
someone
bring
comes
a
out
ring.
from off stage and just jump kicks another guy.
Oh my god.
It's done. We've solved bodybuilding, fellas.
Oh, dude, I would go to every bodybuilding competition if that's what happened. Just at any moment, any contestant on stage could be fucking body slammed by nothing.
This is what we use our podcast money for. We'll start the IBBL, the International Bodybuilding League.
Yes. Oh, I fully support this.
Holy shit.
Getting back on track with the movie.
So Andre the Giant, hey.
Yeah, Andre the Giant, good guy. As you said earlier, Jonathan, I think this movie is very quotable, and there are a couple of quotes that I jotted down that caught me in particular. Obviously, the one that I quoted in the intro, the "marriage is what brings us together," that whole bit,
Yeah.
and literally any of his lines are, just fucking brilliant. And whoever that actor is, I didn't look up his name, but his character choice to do that literally makes that character, like, he literally could have just done the marriage is what brings us together today, and like, you know, that would have been fine, but for him to make the choice to do that makes that character like 10 times better.
That's
which is
very
like,
Monty Python, actually. It's extremely Monty Python.
Yeah, to have something kind of larger than life, but everyone just kind of takes it for, you know, they're like, I guess, sure. Fuck it.
Okay, fine.
When Wesley is lying on the bed right before Buttercup is about to fucking commit suicide, and he goes something along the lines of like, there's a shortage of perfect breasts in the world, and I hate for there to be any less. Yours are particularly good, or something like that. I thought that line was fucking excellent.
Can I just point out, she had the sword in the middle of her chest.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have touched them.
Yeah.
That would have been fine.
Yeah, she would have missed
I
every
thought you were
vital
talking about
organ.
the fact that it would just bounce off of her fucking sternum, but also yes, it would not cut her boobs. Good point, Jet.
Well, maybe from where Wesley was lying down, it looked like she was about to skewer her boobs. You don't know.
I liked how the fucking scene where they fall down the hill, and it's just this.
My God, she's just standing there, and then she's just like, "Well, I guess I'll fall down too."
And they're just like making noises. They're going, yeah.
It's like
the
obviously
camera has
post-production added vocals. Yeah.
Yeah.
The camera's been tilted so that the hill is like a fucking, I don't know, 60 degrees or something,
like,
just like pointing
steep
straight
drop.
up.
Yeah.
I love the, oh my God, the miracle worker, the miracle maker guy, that whole
Miracle
thing.
Max.
Miracle Max with his what's her name? Virginia? No.
Valerie.
Valerie?
Yeah.
Or altogether, that whole thing is just like non-stop fucking amazing. Where he just like,
that whole scene is fucking fantastic. Billy Crystal, as I said earlier, Billy Crystal was Mike Wazowski. You know, later on in his career, and having read that, I went back and watched that scene, and I close my eyes and I see fucking Mike Wazowski. It hurts.
Haunting.
Yeah, truly.
I think I need to go back and do that.
There was a line at the end of that scene. It was when they were just leaving. I don't know, like the two actors are Billy Crystal and the one that played Valerie.
Carol Kane, I think it is.
They bounced off each other really well.
Yeah.
And like, there was a line even near the end that I felt like it was improv, or at the very least, they delivered it like it was like really good improv. I don't know, like it was really, they bounced off each other really well. And I think it really adds to the scene.
It'll be a miracle.
Do you think it'll actually work? Yeah, it'll take a miracle.
It'll take a miracle.
That line?
I was something before. It was just before they went out the door. I can't. This is great podcasting.
Yeah. Where we're scrambling for fucking information. Arnold Schwarzenegger is a wrestler.
I love when he's just like, do you think you can fix him? And he like picks his arm up and it just limply falls on the table and goes, I've seen worse.
Yeah.
Just an incredible scene all around.
And the MLT, mutton, fucking lettuce, tomato, or whatever it is.
Oh, yes. I had MLT written down and I was like, what the fuck does that note mean?
What a stupid joke, but still very good. Stupid, but good.
Yeah, exactly. What did you think in terms of... I feel like we're doing the same thing as we did with, I guess, the last couple of films that haven't been very visual heavy. Cinematography and music. Do you have anything to comment there?
Music, I think, across the board, just, again, same as our... last week's Before Sunset had pretty much no soundtrack whatsoever. And then The Help had, very basic soundtrack a week before that. Again, this one, it's very fantastical, I think is the best way to describe it. It highlights the tension, I think, in a lot of the chase sequences. There's lots of like kind of really late 80s sounding tracks and like a couple of musical stings that they throw in there for like the that kind of thing.
I really liked those flourishes because they had them all through the sword fighting scenes, and they were... There was something just... Yeah, once again, it just keeps coming back to this. It's like, this is a really charming film. That was so fucking charming. That was delightful the whole time.
Yeah.
Every time they did that.
And cinematography is, again, across the board, it does what it needs to do. A lot of the landscape shots are really nice, I think. The stuff where they're actually on location on a landscape rather than a set.
The Cliffs of Insanity are actually a real place, which
oh wow,
really?
Yeah, somewhere in, I think, Ireland or Scotland.
I was gonna say Dover or something like that, probably.
Wow,
something like that. Yeah, which was nuts. Oh wait, I got the thing up here. It is in Ireland. The Cliffs of... What the fuck was that? I think someone just dropped something on the apartment above me. Sorry.
Live action John getting robbed.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. It was filmed all through England and Ireland, Great Britain and Ireland.
It felt like England, yeah.
I think the castle is England, isn't it? Pretty sure.
I believe so. It's just like the whole way through. I feel like I'm fucking harping on the same point, but just everything about that made it seem so charming and like classic and like almost satirical of old like adventure-y medieval style films.
Do you guys know the King's Quest games?
I am aware of them.
Wow. Don't I have a fucking captivated audience? Jesus. It kind of, I don't know, this movie gave me those vibes in that the King's Quest games by Sierra, they're point-and-click adventure games. They were all made all the way through, like, I think, the 70s into the 80s, and there was one made very recently, I'm pretty sure. But they were a classic point-and-click adventure game, and they were renowned for being very satirical and very kind of over-the-top, and it had that similar vibe to me in terms of like its writing style and everything. It reminded me a lot of that. And again, same time period as well, like 80s and 90s and stuff like that. King's Quest was still running, so maybe, I don't know, King's Quest influenced this, King's Quest influenced by that. Who fucking knows?
That one's for all you King's Quest fans out there.
Sure is. Right.
Listening to the podcast. All three of you just had a fantastic time.
That's for you, baby. Before we get any more into this podcast, we drag it on egregiously, I say we get into the trivia. So then,
I reckon that sounds okay.
So then we can riff off of the trivia, because there's actually a lot of good conversation topics amongst this trivia. So, when Count Rugen hits Wesley over the head, Carrie Elwes told Christopher Guest to go ahead and hit him for real. Guest hit him hard enough to shut down production for a day while Elwes went to the hospital.
Oh my god. What was that about the production of this film being whimsical and wonderful?
Yeah,
sorry.
Well, hey, I wanted to start with that. It gets
and it's all downhill from here.
Yeah. Or just like shenanigans, like that's, I could totally imagine like if Carrie Elwes is like he is as a person, as he is as Wesley, I could totally envision him, like, right before the cameras start rolling, he's like, dude, fucking really whack me. Just give it to me. And then Christopher Guest just being like, all right.
Okie dokie, if you insist.
I don't see anything wrong with this. According to the author, William Goldman, when he was first trying to get the movie made in the 1970s, a then unknown Arnold Schwarzenegger wanted to play Fezzik. And he was strongly being considered because Goldman could never get his first choice, Andre the Giant, to read for the role. By the time the movie was made about 12 years later, Schwarzenegger was such a big star they could not afford him. Andre was cast after all, and the two big men had gone on to become friends. How fucking wild is that?
It's pretty... I mean, look, they're both wrestlers, so,
Hey!
Yeah, I get the confusion now. It all makes sense.
Yeah, big muscle men.
That is interesting, though. I think Andre the Giant was a better pick.
Absolutely, yeah. I can't see Arnold Schwarzenegger in that role. And yeah, as William Goldman obviously expressed, he wanted Andre the Giant for the role, and fuck, he nailed it. The names that Inigo and Wesley refer to in the greatest swords fight of modern times are all actual fencing terms named after their 14th and 15th century proponents. Benetti's defense refers to refraining from attacking on uneven terrain. Capoferra refers to linear attack, the best for uneven terrain. Thibault refers to angular defenses / attacks, and Agrippa refers to natural short sword movements which cancel out angular defenses and attacks. So how about that?
Oh,
Wow.
all right. Yeah, I
A little bit of realism in there for you.
Yeah,
Sorry?
I thought he was talking bullshit the whole time.
Talking smack.
It's stuff like that adds to the movie, though, I think. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
little actual
Those
things.
those little niches.
Like
little
fencing
spritzes.
moves or Australia.
Yeah. Liam Neeson revealed on the Graham Norton show that he auditioned for Fezzik. And the director, Rob Reiner, scoffed when he heard that Neeson's height was, quote, only 6'4".
That's amazing.
Now I'm envisioning Liam Neeson as Fezzik, and there is something very unsettling about that.
There's something very special about how fucked up that would be.
Yeah.
And I can kind of get behind it.
Andre the Giant needed an ATV to get him to shooting locations, and he was always trying to get Cary Elwes to drive it. Elwes eventually relented, but on his first time driving it, he hit a patch of rocks as he was shifting gears, which caused his foot to slip from the clutch and eventually become wedged between the pedal and a rock. His left big toe was bent straight down and was broken, which he tried to conceal from director Rob Reiner. Eventually, he had to confess, and they weren't shooting around his swollen toe and limp. You can notice it in the scene right before Buttercup pushes him down the hill. He sits down with his leg extended because he wasn't able to put weight on the foot. In the next scene, when he and Buttercup head into the fire swamp, he has a strange hop in his step.
Just a magical, wonderful production, really. Like, whimsical and perfect. That's actually really interesting, though. I did actually notice the leg outstretched thing, but I didn't think of it. Because it kind of suits the character.
The more I hear about this Cary Elwes guy, the more I fucking love him. He sounds like such a jovial dude. Before filming, Wallace Shawn, the guy who plays Vizzini, had come to understand that he was second choice for the part after Danny DeVito.
Right.
He became convinced that he was wrong for the role and in danger of being fired at any moment. He was extremely nervous throughout filming, and co-star Cary Elwes noted that he was visibly sweating during the Battle of Wits scene. He said to Rob Reiner that he didn't feel he'd get the part because he isn't Sicilian. Rob assured him that his voice was exactly the same as Vizzini's in the book.
What?
No.
Sorry, so there's this alternate universe version of this film where Danny DeVito is Vizzini and Fezzik is played by Liam Neeson, is what you're telling me.
Or Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Or Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I mean, that does sound kind of sick.
Yeah. I would be down for either of those.
I think as wonderful as as much as I love Danny DeVito, once again, I think Vizzini was just played perfectly.
Yeah, I think Wallace Shawn nails it.
Yeah, he did an excellent fucking job.
And that's really sweet that Rob Reiner was like, your voice is the same as it is in the book. I really like that. I think that's
nice.
from a director to an actor, that is like a really lovely reassurance, I think, to calm someone down. The Dread Pirate Roberts costume was modelled after that of infamous vigilante Zorro, of course, only leaving out the cape as it was felt it was unnecessary, and the hat as it did not suit the character.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wrote down that he looked very Zorro-esque.
Very Zorro.
The big pillowy sleeves, like they're all flowy. There's like lots of room there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I once again feel like a fucking idiot for not putting that together.
Really?
Yeah.
The mask,
Yeah, look.
bandana, all black.
Look, I'm really off my game right now, clearly.
Yeah.
Letting the side down.
In order to create the greatest swords fight in modern times, Cary Elwes and Mandy Patinkin trained for months with Peter Diamond and Bob Anderson, who between them had been in the Olympics, worked on Bond, Lord of the Rings, and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the Star Wars films.
Wow.
Every spare moment on set was spent practicing. Eventually, when they showed Rob Reiner the sword fight for the movie, he was underwhelmed and requested that it be at least 3 minutes long rather than the current 1 minute. They added steps to the set, watched more swashbuckling movies for inspiration, re-choreographed the scene, and ended up with a 3-minute and 10-second fight, which took the better part of a week to film from all angles.
Whoa.
Wow. Oh, so they just like repeated the choreography of the fight.
Yeah.
From that's interesting.
Separate angles.
Which I assume is probably a pretty normal fucking thing to do. But
Yeah.
It works.
Normally, when you're
too.
filming a scene, you do the scene as an actor anyway. You do the scene about 5 times, but the camera is constantly positioned in different areas. If you only have one camera, that is. If you have multiple cameras, then you don't need to worry about that because you already got multiple cameras getting the angles. So
it works too. Like, I couldn't imagine it being 1 minute. Like, that sword fight, when you're watching, goes by pretty quickly, honestly, because it's enjoyable to watch. And I say that as someone who doesn't like watching fights in films very much. Like,
and I think because of the build-up as well, like, you know, all of their witty banter and, you know, the whole adversary thing, you know, I think if it was 1 minute, it'd be a bit underwhelming.
That's like my whole thing that I've been like harping on about the last couple of films with like fight scenes and stuff and not really caring for them. It's all character stuff. It's actually great, and I actually was like interested the whole time. So shit, I gotta give the film props for that.
You gotta give that props, yeah.
Yeah, fucking hell.
Because that's your shtick, isn't it? You don't like fights when they're not character driven.
That normally shits me off, where it's just like just fights for the sake of fighting.
Yeah, well,
good point.
Uma Thurman auditioned for the role of Buttercup, but she was deemed too exotic looking for the part. Somewhere out there, there could be a version of The Princess Bride with Uma Thurman, Danny DeVito, and Liam Neeson.
There's a lot of very high-profile people who like tried to get into it. Clearly, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, well, Rob Reiner is a very good director, I think.
Right. Okay.
Given his the rest of his filmography, and William Goldman is also a very good writer. The other thing that I think both of them had written, and I didn't even realize was written by them, was This Is Spinal Tap, which is a comedy fictional mockumentary about a band called Spinal Tap, and it's a rock band called Spinal Tap, and it's kind of, what's the New Zealand TV show that's like that? It's like a rock band.
Flight of the Conchords?
Flight of the Conchords, that's it.
And the one actor from that's in literally everything these days? Yeah.
Right. Similar type of shtick, you know. Centered around a band, and it's where the turn it up to 11 comes from. There's a dude with an amp, and an amp normally only goes up to 10, but he turns his amp up to 11, and that's the whole
awesome.
bit in This Is Spinal Tap.
Good.
That's the only other film I've seen of Rob Reiner's, but if you like this film, go watch This Is Spinal Tap, because that's another very good film that has...
I did not know that was the same director.
...similar qualities. All of the main characters are introduced in the first 7 minutes of the film.
Wow.
That checks out. Yeah. It's fast-paced. The film does not fuck around. It doesn't want to pause on things for too long. That makes total sense. It's just like, here's the characters you're going to deal with.
Let's fucking go, yeah.
Yeah.
The ROUS, rodents of unusual size, have been referenced in multiple video games, including Borderlands 2, Fallout New Vegas, and World of Warcraft Legion.
I didn't recall seeing that in Borderlands 2, but as soon as you said that, I'm like, it was in Borderlands, wasn't it? It was definitely in Borderlands.
And Fallout.
Yeah.
The giant rodents were created with diminutive actors inside rat suits. On the day, Wesley was supposed to wrestle the main actor, Danny Blackner. He was nowhere to be found. Finally, Blackner arrived on set with a long story about being pulled over for speeding the night prior on his way home from the bar, and subsequently being put in jail for a few hours for drinking.
Oh my God.
After the police officer didn't believe his story about having to work as an actor/stuntman playing a rat. I'm just imagining, you're a cop, you've pulled over this drunken midget, you put the drunken midget in jail, and then he says that he needs to be at a film shoot tomorrow where he's playing a rat.
Oh my God.
That's a good image.
How did he get out, honestly?
Well, I mean, obviously they just put him in detainment for, you know, just to let him cool off his buzz, and then they let him go back out again, but that's hilarious. William Goldman claimed that Carrie Fisher was the ideal choice for Buttercup.
It's just everyone. It's just every Hey, do you have any trivia in here for, like, again, who's the main character called? Wesley? Is there any actor that wanted to play Wesley?
No.
Because apparently every actor was going to be replaced except for Wesley.
No. William Goldman and Rob Reiner both chose Cary Elwes for his Robin Hood-like qualities. Your kind of Errol Flynn, that sort of style. And they saw him and they were like, no, that's it. We're not getting anyone else. So There you go. Although the film is, of course, set in a fantasy world, the mention of criminals being sent to Australia means that the year is set after 1788.
I mean, 1788, yeah. You know what?
Seems on track.
I think the technology was a little more further than that at that point. There are also like giant magic rats in this film.
Yeah. And
they bring someone back to life
fire.
with a chocolate truffle.
Yeah. It's best not to think too hard about it. Mandy Patinkin revealed that acting out Inigo Montoya. Inigo's quest to avenge his father's murder brought back memories of losing his own father to cancer in 1972. He said that when filming the scene when Inigo kills the six-fingered man, he felt like he had just killed the cancer that killed his father.
Oh.
That shit makes that scene so much stronger. His line where he says, "I want my father back, you son of a bitch."
Yeah.
Done!
Yeah.
Fucking done.
That's an extremely good line.
That puts a whole nother level of weight to that line and to that scene.
I think because this movie's meant to be like a kid's movie, right?
Yeah.
But then they say son of a bitch, right? And that's another thing. I was going to mention that before, actually. I forgot to mention it when you guys were talking about how Inigo's story was so much more real than the others. I think that's kind of why they chose to include that one, like, curse drop at that one part of the film.
Realness, yeah.
It worked. I don't think hearing any other character swear, if you heard Vizzini swear,
it'd
be
it would
funny.
seem
It
unnatural.
wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But, like, Inigo and his story and that bit, it worked, and the way he delivered it really worked, and now that you've mentioned that makes even more sense.
Yeah, it fucking brings his performance up to a new level for me. Like, makes that whole scene, like, his intensity when he's doing "My name is Inigo Montoya, you killed my father, prepare to die." That the fire in his fucking eyes is just like, I feel that. Carrie Elwes and Robin Wright, who plays Princess Buttercup, were so reluctant to end their time with the film that during their final shared scene, the horseback kiss, one or the other of them would keep requesting another take for all sorts of made-up reasons.
Aww. That's so cute.
So cute.
Oh my god.
Christopher Guest's character has 6 fingers on one hand. This means that his fingers go up to 11 in much the same manner that his character's amplifier did in This Is Spinal Tap in 1984.
That's a bit of a stretch on trivia, but I'll give it.
That's all the trivia I got.
I'll give it I'll let it slide. He's really got 6 fingers.
Yeah, he does. Well, that's the whole bit.
He's not even. He's like Princess Bride isn't even on his like best known for on IMDb. That's very weird.
Oh, not the actual fucking dude. The actual dude doesn't have 6 fingers. Christopher Guest, he doesn't have 6 fingers for real.
What? You said Christopher Guest, Douglas. I'm gonna beat the shit out of you.
What do you mean?
Did you not say Chris? Did you say fucking Rugen before?
Yeah,
and I didn't hear it properly.
Count Rugen plays Christopher Guest. I mean, Christopher Guest plays Count Rugen.
Yeah, but when you okay, whatever. Don't worry about it. Fine, Douglas. It's fine. It's not a problem.
God, this is just like miscommunication. The episode at the moment. My God. Well, yeah, I love this movie. It's so good, and I'm definitely going to rewatch this movie. I'm going to simmer on it for a little bit, let it kind of recede into the vacuous mass that is my brain, and then I'm going to have another swing at it a little while down the track. But it was really good. I enjoyed it.
It was nice to have a film that I didn't have to think that hard about. Unlike some of the other ones we've had recently.
How about you, Jim?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I really liked it. Again, like, I've seen it before, and rewatching it again is even more fun, because you know what to expect. Again, going into those scenes you know are going to be good, and watching them again, it's just really good. Like, yeah, I mean, there's nothing else I can really say about this movie. It's not a movie you can make much big commentary on. It's just really good. It's a good movie.
Does what it needs to do, and it gets the fuck out. I think that's always a good trait in some movies like this.
Yeah, to the point, quick, does what it needs to do. And that, and again, like I'm not always interested in, like you said, like romantic stuff or even fantasy stuff, but it does it so well and it does it so succinctly. That's a good word for it. Yeah. That it's just enjoyable, and even on a second watch, it's just very, very good.
We're using big boy words here on the 250 succinctly.
Fucking hell. I feel like I was a bit wishy-washy with, or like, I seemed like I was much more down on this when we fucking started this episode, and now I'm just like,
Well, did we convince you throughout the period about the period of this 1 hour podcast that this actually is a pretty good movie?
I guess so. The
Yeah.
movie's not much longer than an hour, so I guess so. Yeah.
All right.
So if you just absolutely love us here at the 250 and you just want to just hang out with us some more, spend some more bloody time with us, you can send us you can send all admissions of love via email format to 250pod@gmail.com. That's TWOFIVEOHPOD@gmail.com. So you can find us on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at 250pod. Spelled the same as the email. Instagram is probably the best option, but we do also put all the episodes up on YouTube. We're still catching up to the most recent ones, but they come out a bit more frequently on YouTube, so they'll be there soon. Are we letting Jet bloody...
Okay, so inside scoop, we have a Google Doc that we use to kind of collate all of our information and everything, just so we're all kind of on the same page here, both literally and metaphorically speaking. And I've invited Jethro onto our Google Doc for this episode, and he has left us with some absolute gems here on the Google Doc. There's in Jethro's trivia. Jethro, would you care to read your trivia that you've written down for us?
I didn't write that. That wasn't me. That was but I'll read it.
Oh, okay, no, go for it.
Inigo was confirmed to have a 10-inch dick.
Where was it confirmed?
Wow.
By me.
Wow.
Okay, so if
Mandy.
you thought that was funny, check out Jet on I don't know, Instagram, YouTube.
I don't have Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
YouTube and Twitter at Doverbilly, DOVAHBILLY. It's like the dude from Skyrim, but a goat.
Hillbilly.
Doverbilly.
I've
He
never heard of that
puts some
game.
funny stuff on YouTube sometimes.
Yeah. He does some funny bits. We're occasionally on there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that YouTube. Yeah, shit, we are. Fuck, that's weird.
Yeah.
If you're sitting here and you're listening to this on YouTube and you're like, fuck, I fucking hate YouTube, you can listen to us on some other places. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on Podcast Addict, Pocket Casts, Google Home, Amazon Echo, and we're on Deezer as well, if that's a thing that you do. Just whatever, just check it out. Have a crack.
Why do you squeeze?
We also have... Jet, do you have a personal Letterboxd account or no?
I don't.
Alright, fuck you. Douglas and I have personal accounts. Mine is Upa, that is UUUPAH, and Douglas.
Mine is IENZOKNIGHT. That's Enzo Knight with a K. Letterboxd is a website for basically just logging all the films that you watch. You can leave reviews for them. And Jonathan is writing haikus for all of the movies that he's watching for the 250. I am leaving reasonably little detailed reviews, just a couple of paragraphs normally per film. Just a more condensed version of what I'm talking about here on the 250. And I also toss up things that I have watched recently there. So, yeah. You should get Letterboxd. You'd like Letterboxd.
I should. And you can also find John on YouTube at Upa. That's 3 U's PAH. You can find John there. It's really good content. You should go check it out. One of the videos, it's called
Oh god. Well,
Okay.
this just it. Live reactions.
just in
Keep it
live.
live. Keep it running. John's dead. He's straight
John's
up dead. John's gone. Well,
His
so I
router's
guess you
just
are
been
my
unplugged.
co-host now, Jethro.
I am. It was me that unplugged it. You thought I was in my room.
Wait,
I'm actually in South Australia.
that is the most meta bit. Oh my god. You're in the other room, you little gremlin. Unplugging his router and shit. Wow. Well, Jonathan has left us, so Jet, we'll round out the podcast here.
Oh god, okay.
Thanks for coming on, Jet. I'm glad that we had you here.
No problem. I had a lot of fun. I can't wait to return.
Fucking
Whenever I
3
see another
years
movie
later
that
for
looks
the next
enjoyable.
movie that you're coming on for.
No, there are others. The Monty Python and the Holy Grail one sounds interesting. Actually, I didn't know that was on the list.
Well, we'll send you a link of the. You can actually find a link as well of the list that we have for the 250. So a list of the snapshot that we've taken. You can find that on our Spotify little description thing. You can have a squizzy and see what's on the list and see if you like anything. And we'd love to have you back again. So
I had a lot of fun. It was very, very good.
Good.
I'm glad to have made this episode your most listened episode.
Absolutely.
I'm glad to have, set your podcast into the air.
on new highs.
Welcome back, Jonathan.
Welcome back, Jonathan. We're still recording. We haven't stopped. We're just running this through. So Jonathan isn't recording, so we're not going to be hearing him right now. But at the moment, he's sounding very panicked. Just for all of our listeners, he's sounding very worried. So you see, Jet, what we normally do at the end of the podcast here is we riff for about 10 minutes until we find a natural ending to actually leave on. Welcome back, Jonathan.
Jesus
How are
Christ. So I have someone moving out of my apartment right now, and they just unplugged the router.
you? Wow.
Hey guys,
Welcome back. Nothing. I just said thank you to Jet for bringing him on the podcast, and now we're recounting this both to you and to our listeners. So I think we're just gonna end it here. I think we're just gonna say, you know what? Thank you for tuning into the 250, and as always, we look forward to seeing you real soon.
this is the worst ending we've ever done.
No, what are you
I
talking
don't
about?
know,
This
man.
is great.
It's pretty good. I did a pretty good job.
Yeah,
ending
Jet
it out.
nailed it. Jet's my co-host now. You can piss off.
God damn it. All right, see you later, guys.
Bye.